I'm gonna be very real with you guys in this video with how I was able to post consistently on YouTube once a week whilst working a stressful and time-consuming corporate job in banking, and how I was able to do that for a whole year without burning out. If you're working a 9 to 5 right now, and if you're really serious about wanting to grow a YouTube channel, whether that's to become a full-time content creator one day, or whether you want to create a business from your content and finally achieve that financial freedom that you've always dreamed of and to build a life that you love, then these tips are really going to help you. Lastly, before we get into it, I do have a bunch of free resources and discount codes that will really help you guys out on your YouTube journey, so you can check those out in the description below. The first thing that really helped me was to have a weekly YouTube schedule. And just like how your work days are probably pretty regimented, you need to approach your YouTube schedule with that same level of order and structure. For example, with your work, sometimes you might have like your daily stand-ups at 10 a.m. or you might have like weekly meetings with like all the major stakeholders every Thursday afternoon. And it's like a pretty structured, pretty like consistent thing. And you need to approach your YouTube journey in the same way too. If you don't have an order or a structure to your week, then it's gonna be really hard to stay consistent, because every single day you're just gonna be wondering to yourself, oh, what should I be working on today? Or should I work on the thumbnail? Or should I do this? That wastes a lot of time and a lot of brain power, and it's really stressful to operate in like this chaotic and unpredictable way. To ensure that you stick with your posting schedule, you need to know what you're gonna be working on what days. I'll give you guys an example of what my schedule looked like when I was still working my full-time job in banking. So I made it a point to always post a video every single week on Sunday. And so my YouTube schedule would start on Saturdays. Saturday mornings is when I would film the talking head clips, all the B-roll, my thumbnail videos. Sunday to Monday, I would be working on the thumbnail. And then Tuesday to Friday, I'd be focusing on the editing. And then the following Saturday is when I would sort of do the finishing touches and schedule the upload for the following day. And in addition to that, whenever I had like little pockets of time during the work week, like Monday to Friday, I would use that time to script for my YouTube videos or to plan my next video. And a lot of the time that would be during my commuting hours, or when I was having lunch, or if I had like 10 minutes in between meetings. Another reason why it's so important to know exactly what you're going to be working on what days is because realistically, if you're working full-time, you're only going to have an hour, maybe maximum 2 hours in a day to be working on YouTube. For some people, they might want to wake up 1 to 2 hours earlier to do YouTube stuff before they start their actual work, or some people might prefer to just wait until the end of the workday to start working on their channels, which is what I did. When you only have that 1 hour in a day, you really need to make that 1 hour count. You need to maximize what you're doing in that 1 hour. You can't waste time deciding what it is that you want to do or what it is that you should be working on. The second thing I would say is to think like an athlete. I mentioned this a lot in my YouTube tips videos, but I just want to emphasize again how YouTube is a long haul game. And just like an athlete, in order to perform your best as a creator, you need to not just prioritize your training. So in this case, it would be grinding at making videos, but you also need to be prioritizing your rest and your recovery. Are you eating well? Are you sleeping enough? Are you taking the time to properly rest? When you take care of yourself and when you are at your healthiest, you eliminate things like brain fog and fatigue. And I promise you, these two things, like the brain fog and the fatigue, are going to be your biggest enemies when it comes to your creativity. If you are tired and if you can't think straight, then obviously you're not going to be creating your best ideas. You're not going to be making your best videos. So you might think that taking an hour out of your day to do some exercise is taking time away from your craft, but you can't think of it in terms of exact time exchange. You will buy back hours in terms of focus. So for example, when I'm feeling super tired, it might take me an entire day to finish a YouTube script. Whereas like if I'm fully rested, I can focus better. It might take me just 1 to 2 hours for that same script. And the quality of that script is going to be a lot better. So you can see what I mean. It's not exactly a one-to-one time exchange. When I was working full-time, and of course I still do all of these things now, I made sure that I was doing all the following, and I would highly recommend you guys to do these things too in whatever capacity works for you. And that was eating mainly unprocessed foods, making sure that I was eating well, eating healthy, and drinking lots of water. I made sure that I was working out at least 3 to 4 times a week. I was also trying to sleep as much as I could. And to be honest, like when I was working full-time, this was a little difficult for me. Like at best, I would get maybe 7 hours of sleep. If I was super lucky, 8. But on average, I would say I was sleeping maybe like 6 or 6.5 hours every single night, mainly because I was experiencing a lot of like constant low level of anxiety because of work and the nature of my job. I also made sure that every Sunday was a rest day for me. Like I might do 1 to 2 hours of like YouTube work, but for the majority of the day, I would make sure that I would spend it with friends, or I was doing just whatever I wanted and properly resting. Make sure you schedule that rest time in your week and make it non-negotiable. Otherwise, it's very easy to just take every hour of every day to work on YouTube, and I've fallen into that trap myself. Number 3 is to be very realistic with yourself. If you can only post once every 2 weeks or once every month, then that's just how much you can handle. There's no point in forcing yourself to post once every week if you're just going to burn out. Burning out is the last thing that you want, especially when you're just starting out on this journey. And I just really want to emphasize again, YouTube is a long haul game and you need to make it sustainable for yourself. Start with what you have and what you can, and you can always increase your posting cadence once you become more efficient with everything, once you become more skilled, and once you have the capacity to do so. One thing that has majorly helped me to be more efficient with making YouTube videos is having one centralized system in place. So I have a Notion where I essentially keep track of all of my content. I organize all of my scripts there. I have my content schedule there, so I know exactly like which video is in which stage of the production process. So I know, okay, this video I'm currently editing, this video I'm currently working on the thumbnail, this video I'm scripting. And overall, it just helps me to keep track of everything all in one place, which has been super, super helpful. So if you want to check out the exact Notion template that I'm currently using for my channel, you can access that in the description below completely for free. I've also included like a complete video walkthrough of how to use that Notion template in case you guys need it. So hopefully that helps you. The final thing I wanted to talk about is on outsourcing. And the very first thing that I would highly recommend for you to outsource is your editing. But of course, you can do this with any part of your video making process that either takes you a lot of time to do or you just straight up don't enjoy. If you're working a high paying corporate job and you're able to afford it, I would highly, highly recommend this. So at the time I was working in Malaysia and earning in Malaysian ringgit, which wasn't too great because for a lot of creative outsourcing work, it is pegged to the USD because a lot of creatives come from the US and the West in general. And so it was very expensive for me given the exchange rate and everything, and because I wasn't really earning that much. So that's why I couldn't afford to outsource my editing. But since moving to Australia, since pursuing my own path and starting the business, I have started outsourcing my editing, which has been so game-changing for me. And I've been able to just like focus on other things, focus on making my content the best that it can be. I can focus on building the business, and it's just been such a massive weight off of my shoulders. Even if the editing that you're doing is not hard, like my sort of editing is pretty basic, I would say, it is still very time consuming. And when you are trying to build a channel whilst working a full-time job, your time is extra precious. And if you find that there are areas where you can save on time, then you really, really should be capitalizing on that. In my honest opinion, unless you want to become like a professional editor, you want to be an editor and edit videos for other people or other creative houses, and if you like genuinely like enjoy the process of editing and want to build your skill in that area for whatever reason, then yeah, go for it. But if you don't fall into that category, then I really don't think there's any point in trying to spend a lot of time trying to learn how to edit videos. There's no point in going pro and trying to learn everything and trying to do everything by yourself, especially if your primary goal is just to post videos and make content, which is what my primary goal is. If you are in a similar position to where I was last year, where I couldn't really afford an editor, then what I did instead was I just learned all of the shortcuts for all of the edits that I would do quite frequently and all of the basic edits that I would do. Because you're doing those edits so frequently, the time does add up. So if you can somehow learn the keyboard shortcuts for it, then it will help to save you time. Every little bit sort of counts. So what I would do is just like go on YouTube, go and search for tutorials of shortcuts on how to do this, and you can do the same as well for whatever editing software that you're using. Another thing which has majorly helped me to speed up my editing process is using Recut. And Recut is this editing tool which automatically detects all of the pauses and silences in your clips. And what you can do is just delete them all in one go, so you don't have to manually go through and find the pauses and cut them out yourself. And I kid you not, this has cut my editing time in half, if not more than that. So it was a really, really great investment for me. I do have an affiliate discount link with them, which you guys can use to get $10 off. I do get a little bit of kickback from it if you guys use my link, but I'm gonna be really transparent with you guys. When I first started out with Recut, I paid full price for it, and it was honestly such a game-changing thing for me, and that's why I want to share it with you guys. So you can use the discount link if you want, but no stress if you don't. I'll put the link on the screen here and also in the description if you want to check that out. Okay guys, that's all for today's video. If you guys have any questions about YouTube, and if you have any recommendations of what sort of tips you'd like to hear regarding content creation and things like that, then feel free to drop that in the comment section below and I can work on making that video for you guys. Okay guys, take care and see you in the next video.